Hi, folks. This is Mountain Man coming to you from parts unknown. I hope everyone is doing well tonight. And lest we forget, we should never forget, today is the 84th anniversary of a day that will live in infamy. 84 years ago, the U.S. Navy base at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii was attacked by Japanese forces, killing more than 2,300 Americans. The U.S. declared war against Japan the following day. So anyway, folks, we keep that in mind as we go through our day. And I know many of you are getting notifications to come in, and we're going to talk about a lot of stuff tonight. I think it's fairly obvious that we're dealing with an organized crime entity with many little sub-entities. And we'll talk about that. How can you lose so many billions of dollars from just one state? And do you think that's the only one if it wasn't organized? So anyway, what do? I play videos while people come in, get set up, get themselves a little toddy or a coffee or a little adult beverage, whatever you like. And then we'll be like butter and get on a roll.
Has Donald Trump called you for advice or talked to you at all? And first of all, you've given him some pretty good advice so far, if you have.
Yeah.
But has he called and talked to you? I would call you. I was right.
No, he hasn't. No.
Corralled into this box where we either have to hate Vladimir Putin and believe everything evil that's said about him and love Ukraine, and there's no in between. And that reminds me a lot of you're either a white supremacist or you go with the Democrat narrative on everything under the sun.
The most lethal terrorist threat to the homeland today, white supremacy.
And I want to understand white rage, and I'm white.
I mean, there's as much interference here as you could possibly imagine. Before you even get to Hunter Biden, Nancy Pelosi, John Kerry, Mitt Romney, and all of their children who earn millions from Ukrainian gas companies. These days, it's hard to believe anything because they've lied about COVID, they lied about Russia collusion, they lied about the Ukraine impeachment trial, and there's so much more going on in Ukraine that nobody is talking about.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
My job as a journalist is to try to understand what is the truth here. I don't like being lied to, and we're being lied to on an epic scale. When we're told your only choice is you have to be 100% with Zelensky. Slava Ukraina, who's a puppet, who you can find on the internet in black stilettos and leather pants. Zelensky was selected, like so many of our leaders. And honestly, with big tech and with election fraud these days, we don't know how many leaders all around the world have been selected for us and weren't actually voted in.
How to build back better.
We have to build back better.
Build back better.
If Donald gets the Republican nomination, there are many of us that will move heaven and earth to ensure he doesn't win.
We are fighting the same battles all over the world. To pretend that this war is about Russia and Ukraine is a bare-faced lie. Putin has been warning for 15 years that he is not going to stand by while the globalists take over the world, build bioweapons facilities and whatever else they're doing in Ukraine. Ukraine has been a center of money laundering for many of the leaders in this country. Billions of US dollars have been laundered through Ukraine, and we say nothing about it. Does nobody question these things? We have an idiot like Lieutenant Colonel Vindman.
Mr. Vindman.
Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, please.
Do you always insist on civilians calling you by your rank?
And sits there as a lieutenant colonel. He didn't even make colonel. And he's telling the president of the United States what his policy should be. You have a traitor in the form of Maria Yovanovitch, who was Obama's ambassador, who's telling Ukrainian government officials, don't listen to the will of the American people.
In his July 25th phone call with Ukrainian President Zelensky, the president badmouthed Yovanovitch, calling her bad news.
I was shocked, absolutely shocked.
And then she's given a cushy job for life at Georgetown University, and we're told that the president of the United States cannot say to his foreign counterparts that we want you to look into something.
If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. And they put in place someone who was solid.
So much hypocrisy and dishonesty here, and Ukraine is at the center of it all.
Hey! You ever heard of Ozempic, you fat ass? Hey! Storm zone.
Yes, sir.
I'm going with unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person.
He's absolutely going to come back with full vengeance the next time around.
Now think about what 4 years of a retribution presidency might look like. Our Constitution really does give the president tremendous power to destroy. This will be something we could never have imagined.
Now the gloves are off. Some of Trump's close political allies told him they are working on figuring out the identities of the FBI and DOJ staff and forming lists.
I will direct a completely overhauled DOJ to investigate every radical DA and AG in America for their illegal, racist enforcement of the law. The deep state is destroying our nation, but the tables must turn and we will quickly destroy the deep state. We know where the bodies are buried. There are a lot of people out there that have done some very, very evil things, very bad things, I would say treasonous things against our country. People that have done such harm to our country. I've been looking at them for a long time.
He could order the investigation and prosecution of individuals who he perceives as enemies.
Put them all in jail where they belong. You gotta get tough and smart, and you have to fight fire with fire. You can't allow this to go on. And I will be the one to clean it up. I am your retribution. We will take care of it. We will take care of it.
All right, folks. Yes, we will take care of it. How is everyone tonight? What kind of news has been happening while I've been setting my studio up? I had over 11 hours of screen time today before I even went live. So many things are happening. Is the volcano still going off in Hawaii? And some action wins, and let's see. I'm trying to see if our Alaska's got problems. I don't see anybody from Alaska. I was going to see if I get any updates. But anyway, Sissy, how you doing? Sherry, Melinda, nice to see you. Yeah, I was watching that stuff today. Randy, Robin, Linda Marie's here. Rain's here. Miss Mendersue. Ha ha. Hoo hoo. Rebecca's here. Wayne giving me a thumbs up. All right. Yeah, please remember to give me a thumbs up, folks. It helps the videos get around. Make sure you podge that button. Do it right now before you forget. Hi, Cole. How you doing, Mike? Nice to see you. Elva. And let's see. Who else is coming in? Well, we got a lot of people coming in. Nice to see everybody rolling in. Araceli is here. Darla's here. Ha. Let's see if Todd's here. Nice to see you, Todd. And Pappy Two Bears is here. Nice to see you. Anthrax, nice to see you. So any updates on the volcanoes? It's still spewing lava out. So much is going on. And it, Roland, nice to see you. Hadn't seen you in a while. KNS Cleanup, nice to see you. Yes, everybody's rolling in. Good. So I don't see anybody giving... I heard that volcano was still going on, but did you all remember about today being the anniversary of the attack on Pearl Harbor? And, of course, we can get into that, but the dynamics behind that. But ushered us into a war, World War II. But anyway, folks, we're dealing with I got one video I'll play you, and I don't know if I copied that or not, but they're talking up in Tucker Carlson's hosting or appearing at something in Qatar, and Bill Gates is up there talking with all the sheiks or whatever they are from Qatar. That's got people all bristled up. Yes, never forget, Cole said. That's right. December 7th. Roland saying hi to all the ladies. He's available. So anyway, it's funny how this business with Qatar is going on. And Laura Loomer is, I didn't copy all the videos she put up, but she was busting on Tucker Carlson. Apparently he's buying a house in Qatar. And I think I copied some of her reports down. But, and I was thinking, when Maduro was saying, well, where can I go if me and 100 of my friends were in family, where are we all going to go? And Trump was saying China, Russia, and no, I want to stay in the Western Hemisphere. And Trump said, well, maybe you can go to Qatar. So I don't know, or Qatar, however people say it. David, how you doing? So anyway, that's the dynamic there, isn't it? Here's my post. Maybe you all want to put that. Maybe I'll leave this up during the video. It's just plumb and plain. Arrest all traitors, deport all illegals, keep life simple. I was going to put this up and leave it right here. People forget. They forget about that when the Somali pirates took over that boat and they did a movie on it. When he told the captain, I'm the captain now. Look at my eyes. I'm the captain now. Well, now he's the governor of Minnesota now. Maybe we'll have more than one regime change. Maduro leaving Venezuela and Tim Walz leaving Minnesota. And Gavin Newsom might get corralled up there in California, over there in California. Several regime changes, because that's what it's like, especially with these states that have sanctuary city policies. They're like secessionists. It's like they seceded from the Union. They're no different than John C. Calhoun calling for nullification, state nullification of federal law. And that's what got Andrew Jackson to have the notion to hang John C. Calhoun. That's a matter of fact in history. Said he was traitorous the way he was talking, encouraging people, other states to secede from the Union. Well, in a sense, they have. Justin, how you doing? In a sense, they have seceded from the Union because they're not following our laws. Anyway, I'm a little late coming up because I had to edit this video because I had to take out some stuff on the insides. But part of what we're dealing with is changing the psyche of a nation. That can't happen overnight. They can call it the Great Awakening, and then we do call it the Great Awakening. But what it is, it's attitude adjustment. It's trying to undo decades of illegal psychological warfare campaigns. And it takes time. It takes patience. But as my father used to say, know thine enemy. And forewarned is forearmed, right? So I came across this clip of one of the most repugnant people you'll ever want to hear or see. a vile individual. And I played his videos in the past. Remember, he's the one that said, I think we ought to shave the heads and parade them down the street and spit on them. You know, that's what we all do with these MAGA people. Parade them down the street, shave their heads, make an embarrassment of them, spit on them. But anyway, I don't know who this old character is he's going on a show with. But in my YouTube travels and other travels, I come across these clips. So there's a few jump cuts in it, but at least you get a pulse of what they're thinking, what they're trying to get other people to think. This is only, I think it's a minute. Do they really believe the crap they're spouting? Or is it an attempt to keep the psychological ball rolling? In this clip, he says Trump has no patience. And you hear the old buzzard next to him say, yeah. Like they all agree. They want to get the, keep up the notion with their true believers that Trump is somehow childish, infirm in his thinking. What in the world? And he says other things in here too. But this is part of the narrative they're trying to push forward. And I think he's a flag bearer. I think he sets narratives, he sets tones. And anyway, I'll just play it. And it's not long. It's clipped together. It's not a continuous flow, but it's just some highlights of what I think he's trying to push. And you'll see it repeated like they're like parrots. They're like, if you could do a hybrid of jackals, a pack of jackals and parrots, that's what they're like, especially in comments on platforms.
More the walls closing in on him, the more dangerous that he gets. Right. And they're closing in on him. I can't tell you how fast they're closing in. And he knows that. And, I don't want anybody to get sick, but I assume that he's aware of the fact that he probably has some pretty significant health issues. He's certainly aware of the fact that he has really, really significant downside political standing right now. He's got to realize at some point that he's appointed a pack of buffoons that can't do anything, but he's a big enough buffoon that he may not realize it. But I am just worried sick about the next 3 years. There's so many things that are going wrong for him all at one time. And he's dealing with adversaries like Russia and China that possess something that he has none of, and that's patience.
Yeah.
And he is going to try some crazy stuff between now and just think of what's going to happen. He's going to have 2 years left. He's going to have a Democratic House.
Oh, he's going to have to deal with the Democrat House. So he's keeping the lunatics with the delusion that they're going to win the House. They're automatic. What else do you hear him inject in that? He has no patience. Of course, and he's surrounded himself with a bunch of morons. And he acts like he's got some inside information at the beginning. The walls are closing in. I can't tell you how fast, but they're closing in on him, like they've got something on him. Then he insinuates his health is bad. And he knows his health is bad, and his political standing. You can replay it if you want, but you'll see the thread that he's trying to push, the different narratives. And you'll see it like with, what's that senator that, the seditious senator, Mark, what's his face? I call him Napoleon. He even had the temerity talking about Hegseth to throw in what he called Signalgate. Something that's out of the public mind. It was a flash in a pan. It was nothing. But they're hanging on to every narrative and talking point, which if I have to write them down and go over them. Yeah, he doesn't scare me either, Miss Minderson, but he's disgusting. He makes me sick. Makes me sick. Wait a minute. I saw some booms. Pappy Two Bears put in some booms. And I want to thank, I'm going to take that as a thumbs up and some booms. She went buy me a coffee. I want to thank Pappy Two Bears for going buy me a coffee. Where's my coffee? There it is. There you go. And everybody that went by this week, Mike and Bev, hilarious. Gary, Wayne, Miss Mendersu, outlandish. I have a link in the description if anybody wants to help out. I wonder if that was the link in the description. Is it starting to work now? Or do they still block me on that? Do they still block me on it? Yeah, he's disgusting. I saw that word in the chats too. He is disgusting. But he is a flag bearer. So did you all hear about this Democrat that worked with Obama? He's in trouble. Yeah, I don't know if it works, outlandish. They had blocked it where you could click on it, wouldn't do nothing. So I don't know. It might be something saved in people's phones or devices. But anyway, this Obama character, I'll put this up too. What the heck? Some guy that worked for the Obama administration was laundering actual cocaine purchases and then trying to launder money, $12 million. He's been, he's got himself in his teat in a ringer, for lack of a better term. Oh, copy and paste it. Oh, okay, good, Pappy. It used to be you could just click on it. You didn't have to copy paste it to your browser. It would take you straight there. But they blocked me from doing that. Fly, how you doing? Terry, nice to see you. Every knee shall bow. Yes, you don't have to do all capitals. We can hear. You Tizzle doesn't like entire messages in capitals. So, just a courtesy mention of that. So, anyway, Obama faked his name, religion, wife, kids, birthplace, nationality, education, career. And then he sealed his records in his very first executive order. How about that? To stop Americans from finding out. How many times do we have to show this? What do you think James Carville, what do you think he would, hey, how would he act if he read this? What I got on the screen there. When does America learn Barry Soweto was a real man, but Barack Obama was a character invented by the same people who trained the National Guard SHOOTER? Did you all know that? Donald Trump put this up today. How many times have we talked about him? Will John Brennan finally get his just desserts? Or will it be 6 ways to Sunday? And you see him there in a communist outfit. Posted by Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. So are these hints that things are going to be going down? Debbie, nice to see you. Terry, nice to see you. I was going to play Nessun Dorma. I think I'll play that next time I go live. But I got on my title on my thumbnail. International Criminal Organization. Should I put it on there? IMO, in my opinion. But it's sure looking that way. It's sure looking that way. And do you all remember when after Donald Trump had the assassination attempt and he showed up for the convention? I think it was Scott Bessent. Somebody came out and said, Mr. President-elect, we have some interesting information about Act Blue. And you'll be very happy that we uncovered this. And I think you're going to be seeing some results very soon. Act Blue. Do you all remember that? And Trump was smiling. Yeah, he had a big Band-Aid on his ear that they all made fun of. You know, you want to make fun of the person who's been elected as to be president when they were injured. You want to make fun of the Band-Aid. That's what kind of class we're dealing with here. See, we have to change, as I said earlier, a nation's attitude. We have to change these psychological composition of a nation, the majority of a nation. But there are people who are just, their minds are corrupted. Like Carville, I believe. Maybe he'll come to Jesus sometime in his life. I don't know. You don't count anybody out. Think of Saul to Paul. Okay. But there are people that will never change. But we have to reach as many reasonable people as possible. So here we're seeing over and over again in different areas of the country, Democrats and Democrat organizations in massive criminal activity. Massive criminal activity. Remember about a week ago, I put up a guy's picture. He got, how many years did he get in jail? We didn't even know he was on trial for doing illegal campaign contributions to Obama. It took all this time. How much time did he get sentenced to, folks? 14 years. Nobody walks away from this. So I wanted to get that symbol. They keep changing the logo for the Democratic National Committee, right? And I said, well, I want to get the most recent one. So I goggled it, right? I goggled it. Democrat DNC. I said, what's their logo? DNC. Democrat National Committee is the principal executive leadership board of the United States Democrat Party. Headquarters, Washington, D.C. And FEC, Federal Elections Commission. But this isn't the first thing that came up when I goggled it. This is the first thing that came up. What do you see? The first thing when I put DNC, what popped up? Act Blue. Act Blue, Democrat National Committee. official DNC Act Blue page. Thank you for your continued support. And I'm thinking, aha, what was Donald Trump told? We got some information about Act Blue and the money they're moving around. How much of this money do you think we're going to find goes right back to the DNC? We know about BLM money going to Joe's campaign and to the DNC. An intricate web of corruption, but we're starting to see how it all comes together. And we're starting to see that we have officials at all levels of government that are willfully turning a blind eye or organizing and assisting for billions of dollars to go to foreign entities overseas. Okay? We have judges that have dual citizenships. We have one FISA court judge who's a member of that, what's the name of it? Activist group for Latino immigrants, right? And people that aren't even born in this country and have dual citizenships was never a acting judge put on the federal bench in the months before Donald Trump taking office. So it's going to come together to be a humongous RICO case. And many crimes can be put into a RICO, Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act. That's what RICO is. The DNC is a corrupt organization. Well, what's the first thing? They're two wings of the same bird and all this kind. Of course we know that. Of course we know there's corrupt Republicans too. But we're seeing the engine of corruption, okay? And then it's going to tie into things like the Clinton Foundation. And we've heard in the past the McStain Foundation. Remember him? McStain. And all the Soros entities that have been fleecing taxpayers and damaging this nation's economic security. And never mind our economic security, that's a big one, of course. But our electoral, our election security, our elections have been infiltrated by people who shouldn't even be in the country, but are here and voting through these fraudulent motor voter laws. And we're seeing state after state getting in trouble for giving out licenses to people that can't even speak English, don't know what a stop sign means, and people are losing their lives. But they're participating in local elections and even in federal elections is organized, and I think it's going to be proven that it's all being organized. And here's a video I got of Ilhan Omar. I'm going to play this. Scott Bassett was on Face the Nation, but so was Ilhan Omar. Now she gets to say do you hear her getting interrupted? Where she has to stop what she's saying and say, go ahead and say what you want to say to the news person. Does she get interrupted? No. Has she got a down pat speech or talking point? You better believe it. Does she act and sound a lot like old operatives like James Lizardhead Carville? Oh yeah, of course she does. But anyway, here she is.
I want to ask you about something else that the architect of the president's immigration policy, Stephen Miller, said. On Thanksgiving Day, he posted, "No magic transformation occurs when failed states cross borders. At scale, migrants and their descendants recreate the conditions and terrors of their broken homelands." What do you make of this argument of failure to assimilate and sort of ruining America? How do you understand this?
I mean, when I think about Stephen Miller and his white supremacist rhetoric, it reminds me, yes, it reminds me of the way the Nazis described Jewish people in Germany. And you know, as we know, there have been many immigrants who've tried to come to the United States who've turned back, one of them being Jewish immigrants. We know the way that people were described who were coming from Ireland, Irish immigrants. We know the way in which people were described back then when they were Italian immigrants. And to me, you know, we're, yes, of course, ethnically Somali. We are in this country as Americans. Yeah. We are citizens. We are productive part of this nation, and we will continue to be.
Congresswoman Omar, thank you for your time today.
Thank you for your time. No pushback or nothing. She sits there and calls us Nazis. She says that Somalians are being treated like the Jewish people were, insinuating extermination. Is that what you're insinuating? You're definitely injecting violence, violent notions. And oh, thank you so much for your perspective, Miss Omar. But here is a person who jumps right on the bandwagon of liberal talking points. I won't say liberal anymore, it's Marxist. The Marxists have infiltrated the DNC, the Democrat Party. And I feel bad for real Democrats, you know, like the Hubert Humphrey types and John F. Kennedy, and even Trump was a Democrat. Reagan was a Democrat. But, like Reagan said, I didn't leave the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party left me. So anyway, the talking point is to vilify white Americans, European Americans, and delegitimize the existence of this nation, calling it stolen land. And vilify our founding fathers, the men who put their lives on the line to found this country. That kind of rhetoric coming out of somebody's mouth that is an immigrant should be enough to have them leave the country and not come back, not even on a tourist visa. You're going to come here and call over half the country Nazis. You're going to invoke genocide because people are caught you stealing and want something done about it. People found out you married your brother and came in here illegally. People know that you want to push Sharia law. You're going to say you're being persecuted like the Jews were during the Holocaust. That kind of rhetoric should get you thrown out of this country. And they've been teaching it. We're on stolen land. This is a white patriarchy. They've been teaching that crap in schools for decades. And we have got to push back, and we got to put the truth out. But anyway, here's Scott Pacent on the same program. I hope he took some Lysol to that chair before he sat in it after Elon. But anyway, see how easily he can put his points out in the way you hear. I can't. It sounds to me like you hear somebody clapping, like you'll hear it later in the broadcast. But when he first starts talking, of course, she tries to talk over top of him, and he plows past that. And then while he's continuing talking, you hear it sounds like someone clapping, like, hurry up, hurry up. But anyway, let's see what you think.
a lot of money has been transferred from the individuals who committed this fraud, including those who donated to the governor, donated to Representative Omar, and donated to A.G. Ellison. But they've been transferred to something called MBSs. And those are...
Mortgage-backed security? What do you mean?
Sorry?
Transferred to what?
These are money the Bureau services, and they are wire transfer organizations that are outside the regulated banking system. And that money has gone overseas, and we are tracking that both to the Middle East and to Somalia to see what the uses of that have been.
Okay, but you have no evidence of that money being used to fuel terrorism at this point, which is what some conservative writers are alleging.
That's why it's an investigation. We started it last week. We'll see where it goes. But I can tell you that, it's terrible. Representative Omar tried to downplay it, said, oh, it was very, it was very tough to know how this money should be used. Yeah. She was gaslighting the American people.
Well, we'll talk to her.
Yeah, but when you come to this country, you got to learn which side of the road to drive on. You got to learn to stop at stop signs, and you got to learn not to defraud the American people.
That was a good way to end it up, but they got to do more than just learn how to stop at stop signs and learn how to not defraud the American people. They got to learn a lot more than that. They got to learn how to respect this country. As Donald Trump said, kiss this country goodnight. But did you hear him say they funneled billions of dollars overseas? And she interrupts and says, oh, but that doesn't mean it went to terrorist organizations like conservative writers are saying. Where the hell do you think it went, woman? Oh, it went to a foreign entity, a foreign power. You think the places ended up in the Middle East and in Africa are our friends? If they were, they wouldn't be ripping us off blind. Over 40% of the population of Guatemala is in this country. Their nation's almost half empty. Do you know that, as I talked about last night, or night before last, we heard that over 40% of the population of Somalia receives money from the U.S. What the hell are we doing sending 40% of a nation's population money every month, every week? But she downplays it. Oh, it's not going to terrorists. No, it's going to their Christmas account. Oh, wait a minute. They don't celebrate Christmas in Somalia or in the Middle East. I mean, where do you think it goes, you idiot? So, what's the matter, Outlandish? You can't delete your posts. Ha, flea powder. Yeah. Yeah, the Kennedy Center was amazing. I played that night before last. I might play it again. Yes, we need to deport her. Well, I think if she's committed a crime, hi, Terry, she needs to serve some time. Nobody walks away from this. Hi, Patricia. Why I don't have it? Don't have what? I'm trying to see what I'm looking through. Hi, Bill. How you doing? There's a rewind button there, Patricia. Or I don't know how YouTube's got it set up. I don't mess with any settings. YouTube does what they do. So anyway. If you stick with us in the current broadcast, you can always go at the end of the broadcast, go back to the beginning. Because I'm live right now. Right? That's the thing. I'm live. Here we got, I took the screenshot so I get this guy's name right. Eric Schmidt roasts George Slopadopoulos on his own show. Scott Bessent's so nice, and he stays nice, and he gets his points across. But I think that woman's so fake, it's not going to terrorist organizations, that the average person is going to say just what I said. What do you think? Where do you think it's going, stupid? But anyway, here he is with George Slopadopoulous.
In the Senate. And Senator, let me just begin where we left off with Congressman Smith. Do you support this pardon of the former Honduran president?
I'm not familiar with the facts or circumstances, but I think what's telling here is to try to imply that somehow President Trump is soft on drug smuggling is just ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous. He's provided border security like we've never seen before. And the fact is, these cartels now, because the southern border is closed, they've gone to the high seas. So President Trump is acting with his core Article II powers. No serious legal expert would doubt that the president has authority to blow narco-terrorists out of the water who are poisoning 100,000 Americans every year. If you watch the SEC championship game yesterday, the Big Ten championship game, combine those two stadiums with the number of people there, that's how many people are dying each and every year from the poison that's coming from these narco-terrorists. So the fact is, George, President Trump has been delegated the authority by Congress to designate terrorist organizations. He's done that. He sent a letter to Congress saying he was going to initiate these strikes. We've had regular briefings about it, including from Secretary of State Rubio, including from the high-ranking officials in the Department of Defense. He's executing those. And so now what we have now are Democrats who have such X-ray vision and clairvoyance that they know the intentions of narco-terrorists on boats, yet we're so blind to see that they had a president for 4 years that was operating as a vegetable in Joe Biden. So, forgive me if I'm a little skeptical that this isn't all about politics and trying to take out Secretary Hegseth. That's what this whole thing's been about, George. They didn't want him confirmed. They didn't want a realist in place. They didn't want to shift from their pet projects around the world and trying to build democracies in the sands of the Middle East by the barrel of a gun. We have core national interests at stake, the homeland in the Western Hemisphere, and the rise of China. That's what this administration is focused on. The Democrats are just upset about that, and they try to create some controversy each and every week, and it goes nowhere.
What do you mean you're not familiar with the facts and circumstances of the pardon? It's been well reported all across the country. He's the former president of Honduras. He was convicted of conspiring to bring in 400 tons of cocaine into the United States, also guns and other materials. It's been front page news across the country. Aren't you curious about that?
Well, I'm curious about your pushback on that particular point. With your previous guest, you had zero pushback because he's giving the Democrat talking points like you spew every single week, which is probably why your ratings are so bad. But to make the point, what I'm saying is that you're trying to divert here the attention from what the American people actually support. 75% of Americans support us blowing narco-terrorists out of the water.
That's right. 75%. We agree with blowing terrorists out of the water. But what's George Slopadopoulous doing to bringing up this guy from Honduras? He said it's been reported all over all the news agencies about what a terrible person he is. Yeah, well, it was reported over all the news agencies about Trump saying KKK were good people, nice people. In other words, it's reported all over the place, a bunch of lies. How many years have we listened? 8, 10 years of BS? And it's all coordinated. George Slopadopoulous, ABC, NBC, CBS, all of them. Mockingbird Media. Who cares if it was all reported that the president of Honduras was an evil man? Did you ever think he got set up? And you all probably know it and are playing along with it. Framing people. How many people have been framed? This guy, Color or whatever, Trump gave him a pardon. And, he was on Mornings with Maria Bartiromo. And he's a double talker, like all politicians. But Trump's mad at him. Trump said, "No more Mr. Nice Guy." Let me see. Is this it? This might be it. Yeah, here we go. Can you imagine the Democrats under the crooked Joe Biden administration who always use extreme force and jail time to destroy their political opponent, wanted to put Congressman Henry Cuellar and his wife in prison for 15 years, which I predicted these radical left lunatics would do. And they never stopped wanting to fulfill this evil quest. The Dems mercilessly went after Henry with everything they had. They were looking to destroy him, his lovely wife, his 2 young daughters, and anyone close to them. When the Democrats overwhelmingly lost the 2024 presidential election and power with it, they, regardless, did everything they could to keep going after the Cuellar family. The Dems were vicious, and all because Henry strongly wanted, correctly, border security. He was against the illegals pouring into our country, totally unchecked and unvetted. The congressman didn't want gang members, drug dealers, violent prisoners, people from mental institutions, and yes, even murderers in the good old USA. It was all very unfair what they were doing to him and his family. So much so that his daughters wrote me a beautiful letter about their parents. Just posted on Truth. I have a copy of it. But after reading it, I decided, in the interest of justice, and based on the daughter's loving request, that I would give Henry and Imelda a full and complete pardon. I never spoke to the congressman, his wife, or his daughters, but felt very good about fighting for a family that was tormented by very sick and deranged people. They were treated so badly. I signed the papers and said to the people in the Oval Office that I just did a very good and perhaps life-saving thing. God was very happy with me that day. Then it happened. Only a short time after signing the pardon, Congressman Henry Cuellar announced that he would be running for Congress again in the great state of Texas, the state where I received the highest number of votes ever recorded. As a Democrat, continuing to work with the same radical left scum that just weeks before wanted him and his wife to spend the rest of their lives in prison. And probably still do. Such a lack of loyalty, something that Texas voters and Henry's daughters will not like. Oh well, next time, no more Mr. Nice Guy, President Donald J. Trump. Yeah, Maria asked him, well, where were you on what was your position on the government shutdown? She said, John Fetterman has said, I don't vote party, I vote for my country. And he was like, well, I just wanted to have a voice in the appropriations process. That's all I wanted. In other words, he was for shutting the government down, unlike Fetterman. So, something wrong with that guy's brain. But for some reason, he's crawling back to that pack of jackals after what they did to him and turning his back on Trump after what Trump did for him. Something going on there. Something going on. And if you're going to do 15 years in Jordan, might as well be for something you did. Maybe that's why he's going back. Because what really happened, they might have told him, you run as a Republican, we'll show him something you won't get out of, that Trump won't be happy with, and you won't get pardoned for. Huh? Does that make sense? Some people will burn themselves alive just to get a little smoke on you. So anyway, right here, what do we have here?
This is a Fox News alert. A high-ranking Obama DEA official was just indicted for trying to help the cartel.
Paul Campo conspired, allegedly, to launder up to $12 million in drug trafficking proceeds. Campo and an associate by the name of Robert Sensi are accused in the scheme of converting cash into cryptocurrency to buy 220 kilos of coke, worth about $5 million on the street, and then attempting to launder even more money, almost $750,000 from other drug sales for the Jalisco New Generation Cartel. These two gentlemen have been charged with narco-terrorism conspiracy, conspiracy to distribute narcotics, and, as you can well imagine, also with money laundering conspiracy. Campo has pleaded not guilty, and he is in custody tonight. There's a good chance, Jesse, he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
In custody tonight. So we can lump him together with that one that got 14 years for the illegal campaign contribution to Obama. So we're seeing Obama-era officials getting themselves in a real pickle. And present DNC officials. Here, we haven't seen him in a while. Since the Kilmar Abrego Garcia situation. You know who he is, right? This is from MAGA Voice. Never forget when El Salvador's President Bukele said some complain that we put thousands in prison. In reality, we set millions free. Time for America to do the same. I absolutely love this. Well, that's right. You set your nation free when you put the criminals away. And I'm thinking more and more that we're going to see our own CCOT. Okay? And probably multiple CCOTs because we've got such rampant crime. And people like Ilhan Omar, well, if she gets deported, wait a minute. If she's complicit in stealing billions of dollars and she's got some time to serve, we ought to make damn sight sure she does it. And then deport her. I still think there's going to be one up in Greenland before you know it. So anyway, here, I want to show you all this. Let's have a little nature here. ABC put this up. Indonesia Zoo releases photos of the first panda cub born in the country. Look at that little guy. Look at Junior. Or it might be a sissy. I don't know. You think it's Junior or a sissy? I don't know, but look at it. Well, let's hope the little fella gets through his struggle to get to maturity and make more little pandas. Let's all hope that anyway. Here, now, I'm trying to make sense of this one here. What's this one about? Leftist British MP Zara Sultana. Sorry. Zara Sultana. She's British, don't you know? To be fair, she has a British accent. You'll hear it. But she's saying we need to have a referendum on the monarchy. Part of the leftist ideology and tactics is to create anarchy and destroy cultures. The monarchy is part of a history of 1,000 years. Okay? It's ceremonial. It's part of British culture and history. But she wants to destroy it. She wants it removed. Even though she does have a strong British accent, she still has her culture in her heart. Does she have dual citizenship? Now listen to her. Listen to the verbiage she uses. And that all-encompassing word that these socialists, Marxists love to throw around, democracy. Democracy. We're in a democracy. And of course, all of you know out there, we are a republic, not a democracy. A democracy is mob rule, which Marxists thrive off of mob rule. Okay? So anyway, and she divides people. She says labor needs to do this. Laborers. You know, I've done a lot in my life. I've been a salesman. I've been a laborer. I've been an executive. I've done all kinds of things. But they love to categorize people and then pitch those categories against each other. Labor against management. Well, in America, you can aspire to be management. You can aspire to be an executive. You can aspire to run your own business. But no, you'll hear her keywords, but her bottom line is she wants to fundamentally destroy the culture and history of the United Kingdom.
When you've got a coffee shop and you've got a small workplace, a democratic form of ownership of that is a workers' cooperative, where workers own the shares in that company, they have better terms and conditions, the profits are shared amongst the workers, and that is a form of democratic ownership that does very well across the world, including in the UK in many cases.
And would that be something that businesses had to become? Would that be mandatory?
Well, these are conversations that we should have about what forms of ownership we should have in our economy. And right now, we don't have very many democratic forms of ownership. When we look across Latin America, you've got workers' cooperatives, you've got community land trusts, you've got all of these different forms. We need to have conversations about how we can democratize our economy.
But also mandatory might be an option.
It has to be something that we have a conversation about. Obviously, the party does not have policies yet. But it's important that we articulate a different vision of society and an economy. And actually, that extends not just to corporations and businesses and our public services. It's also questions around the monarchy. When you've got a royal family with a sovereign grant that will increase to £132 million next year, and you've got Prince Andrew, who's had £12 million of taxpayers' money to defend his legal costs, a close friend of Jeffrey Epstein, we need to have a referendum on the monarchy and talk about democratising society as well.
And would you campaign to abolish the monarchy?
Absolutely. I'm a Republican.
Yeah, you're a Republican in a pig's eye. In a pig's eye. The monarchy is there for historical purposes and ceremonial purposes and for charitable organizations and crap like that. They have no the country is run by the parliament. Okay? A parliamentary system. So it's preserving the history of the country. She wants to destroy it. And she's using class warfare and Marxist talking points and then got the damn nerve to say she's a Republican. Prince Andrew's been kicked out of the family, okay? And I'll tell you what, I bet you the 50 million Russian people that lost their lives through the numerous purges and starvations, through Trotsky, Lenin, Trotsky, Stalin, wish they still had a czar. I'm just saying, some countries need a monarchy because they have an IQ that national average that's not over 80 points. How can you self-govern when you're dumb as a box of rocks? You can evolve into self-governance. And Marxism is not self-governance. You know, I don't know if I ought to play this or not. I got a Saturday Night Live clip. Think about it. I might play at the end. In case I get a strike, I can just clip it off the end. But anyway, Donald Trump put this clip up. So I'm going to play it. He put 2 clips up today I'm going to play. Administration probes Walz's handling of $1 billion fraud claim. Now, I've been watching Midas Trash Bale Network responses. I've been watching Occupy Demon Rats responses. And I was wondering, why are they all over Fox News all of a sudden? They'll pick a topic, and they'll go crazy over it. So they were jumping up and down about Fox News. So I guess it's where they're just sitting on the couch talking about all the massive historical fraud that's been going on from Democrat regimes.
It's gotten so bad with the roiling scandals going on in Minnesota that he has either turned a blind eye to or for some reason has turned a blind eye to. That even some of his allies are saying that his political career is over. Former Minnesota State Senator and political analyst in Minnesota. This is, who is this? Ember Reichgott Jung, saying he is clearly vulnerable and, in my view, is riskier than any Democratic candidate that might run. Anonymous longtime ally of Walz's in Minnesota, a different person, said, it's clearly a real vulnerability. Even suburban dads would bring it up to me over the summer.
Which is interesting because this fraud has been
Politically vulnerable? What are they talking about? I think he should be criminally vulnerable. If they find anything that'll tie him, make him criminally liable, I'd spread it all over the place and then do a perp walk. It needs to happen if they can tie it to him.
circling around Minnesota for a while, but it's really broken open, and we're seeing the scale of it. It's now the biggest fraud case in America. Over $1 billion. There's probably more to come, more things to come out of this as well. Was it incompetence? Was there some skimming of money off the top, and sort of putting a blind eye to it? We don't know. But the investigation is going to continue. The DOJ has promised to get to the bottom of this. But, Griff, everyone's trying to wash their hands of all of this. They're going to throw the Democrats in Minnesota are throwing Tim Walz under the bus and saying that's on him. We don't know how far this goes.
Well, the question is whether or not Walz's administration was at best incompetent or at worst complicit in allowing this unprecedented fraud going on. Meanwhile, this triggered the Trump administration to go into Minnesota to go after particularly Somali illegal aliens that are protected in the sanctuary state of Minnesota, the sanctuary city of Minneapolis. Here, let me show you some of the criminals. The Somali illegal aliens have been rounded up just in the past week or so in Minnesota. And these are the people, come with me, that Governor Walz wants to defend, praising the Somali citizens.
Mohammed Syed, convictions include...
Before he gets into that, I want to repeat, IMO, in my opinion, sanctuary city laws are seditious, okay? Seditious. And you can tie all this draining of our cash and damaging our economic security. You can tie that into subversion too. Probably a lot more than what I just said.
Include domestic violence, trespassing, assault on a peace officer, damaging property, and the list goes on. But there's a whole handful of them. You've got Sharif Abdi, a gang member. Convictions include fraud, vehicle theft, multiple probation violations. Osman Shadani, convicted of criminal sexual conduct with a minor aged 13 to 15. That's a child.
Muhammad Ali. Convictions include domestic assault, fraud, robbery, and larceny. Finally, Muhammad Omar charged with 2 counts of domestic violence. These are not the best of the best. They are, as the Trump administration says, the worst of the worst, and yet Governor Tim Walz is defending them. Meanwhile, the deputy ICE director, Madison Sheehan, on this program yesterday says they're going to continue to go after these criminals. Watch.
We have an operation going on in Minnesota right now to specifically go after the Somalis who have broken laws in this country, who have come to this country illegally, and continue to wreak havoc on the American people. Our officers are out every day arresting gang members, murderers, and rapists, and truly the list goes on. And people like Governor Walz have let this guy run free in his state for years, and it's time that we put a stop to it. Democrats continue to choose to protect the people that are locked up in our facilities, people that have broken the laws by coming into this country and then perpetuated laws against the American people after that. Secretary Noem, President Trump have taken the handcuffs off our officers so we can put them on the criminals, but we enforce the laws that are on the books. We do not pick winners and losers. And the Democrats continue to think that the real winners are inside the fences at our ICE facilities, and that's not true. It's the American people that have been victimized by alien crime for years.
And, you know, it's Democrats who insist that these government programs that are being defrauded in Minnesota right now, that this is the lifeblood, this is the answer to everybody's problems. And then they allow this to go on, and you wind up with, this is going to actually hurt, genuinely hurt people who Democrats claim to care about.
It's such a great point, because the Democrat answer to any problem is just more money, right? So there was probably, a lot of incompetence, but also it's sort of in line with their philosophy. We must be helping people. $1 billion has been sent on them. Meanwhile, this money has been spent overseas in all kinds of, schemes, buying real estate. It's gone into terrorist hands. And we had Jack Brewer on earlier, somebody who's from Minnesota, knows it, or played in Minnesota when he was in the NFL, spent a lot of time there, has family that lives in Minnesota. He's talked about the poverty rate of, this is a lot of African Americans who live in Minneapolis, the poverty rate, the education, how bad it is, and all of this money getting wasted when it could have gone to really help people. And it's absolutely shameful. And we really need to talk about, and again, this is a hot button issue, assimilation. Are there certain immigrants that are more easily assimilated because their culture and their love of this country shines through? Are there others who just see this as, a place to scam money and send it back to their home country? We have to have this conversation about assimilation and who actually wants to come to this country and make it better versus these guys that you had up on the board.
If you're coming to the country to get welfare or to commit fraud, then you're not what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You're here. We are the dumping place for bad people from other places. That's not the way it's supposed to work. If you want to come here because you love America and you want to contribute to America and contribute to the American dream, under our system, we believe that helps everyone. That's what is so magical about the American dream.
And you can look no further than who they have chosen to represent them, somebody who is a very ungrateful refugee to our country, Ilhan Omar, probably the most ungrateful.
Look, Governor Walz defending the
illegal aliens from Somalia really leaves you
scratching your head.
Yeah, ungrateful. So Ilhan Omar, ungrateful. But it's not just Ilhan Omar. Any of them that can't take care of themselves, okay? Any of them that come in and end up being a ward to the state or dependent on the state needs to go, okay? Because they represent on their applications when they come in for visas that they can be self-sustaining, or they have a sponsor that is supposed to be a safety net. And if their sponsors can't step up like they pledged to do, and they can't get by without being a drag on this country, they got to go back. I mean, the girl that was talking earlier was focusing on criminals. Yeah, hooray for that. But this business is coming here for the gravy, coming here to be a dependent. Get the hell out. That's just my thoughts. So anyway, my mother worked 2 jobs. She wasn't dependent. Here's another ungrateful turd right here. Turd in the punch bowl right here. Got that same wild-eyed, demonic look. This is from I Meme, Therefore I Am. Somali living in the U.S. gets triggered by comments left under his previous video by citizens of various African nations who criticized him for disrespecting America and Americans. He fires back, saying that Trump and his followers, isn't that what Ilhan Omar talks about? We're Nazis, right? Trump and his followers have the IQ of room temperature. Oh, where'd you get that funny joke? And claiming that their countries are not developed and are lesser than Somalia. Since Somalia thinks he's better than Americans and better than Africans from other nations, we should help him go back to Somalia so he can show everyone how superior he is. Yeah, go back and straighten out your own damn country. And you don't vilify and denigrate your fellow Americans, more than half, and the President of the United States. That in itself, you should get your ASS out of here, the hell out of here. What's the story on this creep? Previously deported, illegal, reportedly stabbed victim on same rail system, Irina Zarutska was killed. Zarutska. Disgusting. And what is their impetus? What's making them do this? Solidify their voter base. Okay? Leave the back door open for crime to steal from our social services, from our programs, enrich foreign countries, help spread Marxist philosophy, and to solidify their voter base. Election interference is part of it's an unspoken racket. It goes right down from the governor's office right down to social service workers who are handing out housing vouchers, handing out food stamps with a smile on their face because they're wanted down with patriarchy. We're on stolen land. The founders were slaveholders. We got to give all the stuff away, and we're doing good.
Border Czar Tom Homan joining us now. Good morning, Tom. I want to get right to this horrific attack in Charlotte. Now, Charlotte's mayor, who has opposed your efforts to crack down with ICE there, put this statement out about this tragedy, saying there are several aspects of public safety that are outside of the city's jurisdiction, including immigration policy and enforcement, but we will continue to focus on public safety and ensuring a safe and vibrant community. What's your reaction, sir?
I say prove it. Prove it. Let your local law enforcement and your state law, let the state law enforcement, mostly her local law enforcement, let them walk side by side with ICE and Border Patrol as they focus on criminal aliens in her city. I mean, as a mayor, her number one responsibility is protection of her communities and to lower the crime. President Trump, under President Trump's leadership, we've already dropped crime in a lot of these major cities because of the actions of ICE out there. We're concentrating on the worst of the worst. So, put your actions where your words are. Put your officers out there shoulder to shoulder. We're not asking them to be immigration officers. We're asking them to help us locate and remove illegal aliens who are public safety threats in our city.
And, Tom, we have talked over the course of the years about known gotaways. This illegal alien criminal, Oscar Solorzano, apparently deported twice, came back a third time as a gotaway with more than 2 million known gotaways in the country. This is exactly the sort of thing we want. It's remarkable.
This, by the way, is another clip that Donald Trump put up today. So he wants us to see it. That's why why I uploaded it. Got a lot of good information that a lot of these do-gooder liberals need to hear.
Zano was actually had a prior conviction for robbery and then additional arrests for aggravated battery here in the U.S., and yet he's here. How imperative is it now that your men and women of ICE and Border Patrol continue to try and find not only the ones we know about, but the known gotaways that pose this type of threat?
Well, thank God President Trump's in the Oval Office, because when we came in, we knew there's over 600,000 illegal aliens with a criminal record walking the streets of this country. And you're right, Griff, over 2 million known gotaways. These are more than 2 million people who crossed the border under Joe Biden and got away. They weren't fingerprinted. They weren't vetted. They paid more to get away. They didn't just turn themselves in the Border Patrol, get a free airline ticket to a city and get a free hotel room and free medical care. They paid more to get away. And why is that? Because they didn't want to be fingerprinted. They didn't want to be invited because they're gang members. They're criminal aliens. Could be from a terrorist-sponsored country. So over 2 million. So this is what President Trump's committed to. We're working with ICE and DOJ to locate every one of these criminals and remove them from this country. That would not have happened if Joe Biden or Kamala Harris was president. President Trump's a game changer, and like I said before, over a couple 100,000 criminal aliens have already been removed, and we're just getting started.
You know, Tom, some of the most innocent victims of the Biden border crisis are the unaccompanied children. The some 300,000 that were either lost by the Biden administration or were placed with unvetted sponsors. You have an update on this administration's effort to try and rescue those children. What can you tell us?
Over 500,000 children were smuggled in this country under Joe Biden. They released them to unvetted sponsors. They lost track of 300,000. President Trump committed on day one that we will do everything we can to find every one of these children. We know many are in sex trafficking, many are in forced labor, many are being abused. I look at the numbers every day. On Friday, I looked at the numbers. There's over 62,000 children found by the Trump administration. Children that weren't even being looked for under the Biden administration. President Trump saved over 62,000 children's lives. Some of these children were in sex trafficking, we found them. Some were in forced labor. Some were being mistreated. I can't even discuss some of the mistreatment we found out about. President Trump, again, proves why he's the greatest president in my lifetime. Over 62,000 children rescued by President Trump. Again, children that were ignored and weren't being looked for under President Biden.
62,000, that is a news-breaking number right there. I know you continue. And, you know, when we talk about this, Tom, and you and I have talked off camera about this, some of the most painful experiences I had on the border was when these smugglers, these cartels would just drop children 3, 4, 5 years old on the other side of the border with nothing other than a name and a phone number written on a piece of paper stuck to these unaccompanied children. Here's a flashback of one of those moments down in Mission, Texas in March of 2023.
We've just rolled up on migrants that have crossed the river and given themselves up. A woman found a young child by himself, the cord around his neck, instructing the border officials to send him to Louisiana. The child will get special attention as they try and figure out who he is.
It's just heartbreaking to see that. And this is Texas DPS Sergeant Lupe Casares that had to then try and figure out what to do with this poor child who had no idea where he was or where he would end up. Tom, this is so important.
Well, look, bottom line is, under Joe Biden, the Democrats want to attack President Trump every day. Every day they're attacking President Trump. They are complicit. For 4 years this has happened. Sex trafficking, historic highs. Children crossing the border, historic highs. Migrant deaths crossing the border, historic highs. 250,000 Americans dead from fentanyl under Joe Biden because of that open border. Like or love President Trump, you got to admit, this man has shown every day he's saving America. Because of his actions on the border, we have the most secure border in history of this nation. Secure border ever. Lowest number of crossings in history. And you know, to find 64,000 missing children. 0 releases in 7 months. Because of that secure border, less fentanyl is coming across to kill Americans. Less migrants are dying making that journey. President Trump saving America one day at a time, and I'm just proud to be a part of his administration.
62,000 rescued children, proving that a secure border is actually a safer border. Border czar Tom Homan, thank you for taking.
Yeah,
thanks for having me.
He ended up at the end saying what the word, he didn't want to say S3X trafficking. That's what it's all about. S3X trafficking. And what did I say, when I was talking about this country couldn't live next to another civilization that was paganistic, cannibalistic, violent. That's why we conquered. They either had to assimilate into a civilized way of life, or you're finished. We can't have you around. You can't have a neighbor like that. And so you look at Mexico. What kind of a civilization do they have where they'll put a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old standing out in the damn desert to get picked up by who the hell knows what, and what could happen to them? They need to step up, or maybe like Trump said, y'all could do well to be a state yourselves, never mind Canada, and put you under the rule of law. Because we can't, we're going to keep getting the blowback from living next to a savage nation. Hi, Mac. How you doing? Lori, how you doing? Nice to see you both. Richard's the captain now. Yeah, I had that up. I had something similar to that up earlier. At the beginning of the show, you have to take it. Here you go. Getting some normalcy back here. Lives to TikTok put this up. Health and Human Services changed Richard Levine's name back to, or Rachel Levine's back to Richard, after the Biden administration referred to him as Rachel. This is a dude. If the truth hurts, seek help. What a disgrace. What an embarrassment. Here, guess where this is? U.S. troops land in Puerto Rico as Caribbean theater heats up. It's called getting mobilized. Something getting ready to go down. Look at Junior. He's got a big old backpack. He's not leaving anything behind. That's a hovercraft. Man, those are impressive beasts. Let me tell you, look at that thing. They can carry tanks. They can carry tons of personnel and equipment. And they can land on the beach and run right up into your backyard. But where is that character? Now, you got to read subtitles for this, because there's here. Here's the Venezuelans. I guess Maduro didn't want to go to Qatar and he doesn't want to go to China or Russia. I think that's the two choices Trump gave him, China or Russia. And then said, oh, okay, well, Qatar if you don't like China or Russia. But anyway, here's a bunch of people in the military mouthing off that they're going to stick with Maduro.
5.600 combatientes revolucionarios, socialistas y hoy más que nunca profundamente chavistas, entrenados bajo el método táctico de resistencia revolucionaria en perfecta fusión popular militar policial. Sepa usted, mi mayor general, que estos combatientes, estos hombres y mujeres que hoy nos encontramos en formación, le demostraremos al país, le demostraremos al mundo entero que Venezuela se respeta. Venezuela tiene una fuerza armada junto al pueblo, fusionada, adiestrada, entrenada, moralizada. Por ninguna circunstancia permitiremos la invasión de un imperio. Si la patria nos necesita, si la patria demanda nuestras vidas, denos la orden y saldremos en este instante a defenderla.
Ante el desproporcionado poder de los imperialistas norteamericanos, nosotros repasamos, ajustamos la doctrina militar bolivariana, que es la doctrina de la guerra popular prolongada, que es la doctrina de la guerra de resistencia. Pero es que si no hace mucho, apenas 214 años de la independencia, apenas 4 abuelos atrás, estuvimos bajo el liderazgo del general en jefe Simón Bolívar, también justamente en una guerra popular prolongada, en una guerra de resistencia, que hizo en toda la patria una guerrilla, en toda la patria un fusil. La guerra convencional, la guerra no convencional, la guerra regular, la guerra irregular, la lucha armada, la lucha no armada, la guerra simétrica, el estudio del terreno, la acechanza al enemigo. Y esos medios, esas armas que ustedes tienen, son las armas de la garantía de la paz. Son las armas, son los fusiles, son los lanzacohetes, son los misiles, son las ametralladoras que nos llevan a la paz. Y también tenemos certeza en que fortalecer las fuerzas de operaciones especiales, es decir, unos soldados formados en condiciones extremas para combatir, combatir y combatir debajo de la tierra, en la superficie, en las montañas, en las ciudades, nos hará en estos momentos y en los tiempos por venir una patria inexpugnable, una patria que esté en paz, y esa paz la conduce hoy nuestro comandante en jefe Nicolás Maduro Moros.
You see the name up there, Nicolás Maduro Moros. Yeah, and they're going to do irregular warfare, guerrilla warfare, regular warfare, surveillance, armed warfare, unarmed warfare. You saw him say it. That's what we've been in America for I don't know how long. Irregular warfare. As I've said before, illegal psychological being one of the things they thrive on. Here you got Elon Musk. Says pretty much. Alice Smith put up the Fourth Reich. Musk continues to criticize the EU online and has now reposted in a tweet claiming that the EU is the Fourth Reich. Trump has said the EU needs to figure out something else. I'll put it that way. Here is Laura Loomer speaking of This guy's talking about the EU here. Laura Loomer was reporting on this Doha forum in Qatar, where Tucker Carlson went. Speaking in Qatar, the Doha forum today, U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Tom Barak suggested that Israel isn't a democracy and should instead aspire to have a monarchy, what were we just talking about, like Islamic countries, because monarchy is the best form of government. I think she said for that type of crowd, I don't know. I didn't hit the show more button. But this is the U.S. ambassador to Turkey. Some people need a flipping monarch. I mean, they can't run their own lives. But anyway, here is a, at Doha, here is a former foreign, what do they call him? Kind of like a Secretary of State for Iran. And he's taking pot shots at Marco Rubio and Donald Trump for weakening the EU. They want a strong EU. Well, Trump and Elon Musk have pretty much said, you know, the EU really needs to be disbanded. Who are they being controlled by?
To invoke Article 36 of the JCPOA. Rubio shouted at the Europeans, yelled at the Europeans for them to go ahead and basically disempower themselves from playing any role in the Iran nuclear issue. The Europeans could have held the most important role because US was not part of the JCPOA. Europe was still part of the JCPOA, and Europe could have played a major role. So what did Europe gain by invoking 36? Absolutely nothing. And you read the national security strategy of the United States just published yesterday, it seems that based on that national security strategy, Europe is the greatest threat to democracy. That's the actually benefit that our European friends got from basically shooting themselves in the foot to please Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, Europe is the biggest threat to democracy. Free speech has not been banned in the UK, and we will arrest anyone who says it has. Where's that other tweet that, here? J.D. Vance sent this X out to Elon Musk. Rumors swirling that the EU Commission will fine X hundreds of millions of dollars for not engaging in censorship. The EU should be supporting free speech and not attacking American companies over garbage. And Elon Musk responded, much appreciated. Well, they did fine him, I think, $145 million. So, yeah, things are getting rocky. Let me, here, let's put this one up. Let's see. Donald Tusk from Poland. Dear America, American friends, Europe is your closest ally, not your problem. And we have common enemies, at least that's been the case for the past 80 years, trying to insinuate be enemy to Russia. We need to stick to this. It's the only sensible strategy for our common security. Unless, of course, something has changed. Something has changed. Europe has been inundated with massive migrant influx. where it's changing the core of their countries. A minor crisis in relations between the EU and the USA is coming to the public's attention. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you how far it's coming to the public's attention. U.S. flips history by casting Europe, not Russia, as the villain in new security policy. An annual strategy document which has described threats from China to Russia now directs some of its harshest language at NATO allies. Yeah, they're trying to suck us into that war. And Trump don't want to get into a war with Russia. The new U.S. national security strategy is called shock in Europe because China and Russia are no longer mentioned as strategic opponents, and the most harsh and severe expressions are directed at European countries. Maybe because you all are elbow deep in this hedonistic pagan crap of telling your kids they can change their gender, putting people in jail for opposing this type of lunacy, and pushing for financing for this damn war over there that you want us to get into, and we're not going to do it. Elon Musk, the EU should be abolished and sovereignty returned to individual countries so their governments can better represent their people. Elon Musk has called for the elimination of the European Union. The EU needs to be eliminated and sovereignty should return there. I just read it, so they can better represent their people. I say hear, hear. I am unanimous in my agreement. Meanwhile, Russia has deployed more than 710,000 troops. What's that? Going to clean up their backyard, okay? Of this demonic philosophies that we're seeing. And we're going to clean up our backyard. I think that's the deal. I think Russia is going to stop its support for Cuba, back out of Venezuela. You know, it's not just Maduro it's going to go. It's going to be that Raul Castro regime in Cuba, Colombia. All these narco states are going to get thumped. We're not going to live in a hemisphere full of narco criminals and Satanist philosophy, abusive to their young. It's savage, and we're not going to put up with it. They put 710,000 troops on the front line, said Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine in an interview with Sky News. Kiev region, moment of the strike. After the arrival, there were power outages. For the past week, there hasn't been any appreciable area in Ukraine that hadn't suffered blackouts, brownouts, or other issues with their power. And Putin's massing troops. There's going to be a push, and he's going to settle this question about the land. Oh, what are we dealing with? Netflix is trying to acquire Warner Brothers. I talked about that day before yesterday in an $82 billion deal. This is being reported around the world. This is the most dangerous media consolidation in American history. This means that Barack and Michelle Obama and the Democrat super donors that run Netflix will now own a monopoly on children's entertainment. The Obamas already have a 9-figure Netflix production deal. They've released 17 propaganda titles focused on children, fatherhood, BLM, and trans ideology. Obama insider Susan Rice sits on the Netflix board. With this deal, they will now control Batman, Superman, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, Looney Tunes, that's all folks, Scooby-Doo, and many other children's classics. What did I say when I was playing that video of that young lady from the UK? They want to destroy the culture. Anarchy, cultural anarchy. Marxists thrive on that. If it closes the deal, the most powerful propaganda machine in history will be owned by the same people who weaponized the IRS, the FBI, and the DOJ against American citizens. They will rewrite the scripts, reboot the heroes, and algorithm push trans ideology, race guilt, and anti-family messaging straight into your living room. Your daughter will be told girls can be boys before she can read. Your son will be told America was built on evil. Antitrust laws exist for this exact moment. They prohibit mergers that create monopolies. This is textbook illegal. That's because they are an international criminal organization. Oh, Doha. Look who it is. So you had the former Iranian prime minister there talking about Europe, pining about Europe losing its favored position with the U.S. But now you got Bill Gates delivers a keynote address at the Doha Forum, highlighting how innovation, global cooperation, and scalable solutions can drive progress where it's needed most. Oh, before I play this clip, Laura Logan put up, Bill Gates pledges to vaccinate the entire world in keynote address at Doha Forum, where Tucker Carlson is also speaking. The official from Doha Forum X account proudly announced that Bill Gates delivered the keynote address opening the event today. In his address, he emphasized that Qatar is a key partner in his plan to vaccinate the world, the entire world. Tucker Carlson, who has built much of his brand on opposing Bill Gates and vaccine mandates, is also speaking at the same forum. It's telling that Tucker did not use his platform to directly challenge Gates in his global vaccination agenda. So she's got other posts up where she's pretty unhappy with Tucker Carlson. But anyway, so here's the nasally, wormy voice of Bill Gates.
Qatar is a partner in some of the greatest efforts in the world, including Gavi, which buys vaccines, and Global Fund that works on HIV, TB, and malaria. There are regional initiatives that Qatar was one of the first to help drive, including the Lives and Livelihoods Fund. And so all of this early investment, this commitment to those in the greatest need is very exciting.
Oh, yeah, he's an honored guest there. Going to vaccinate the whole world. What is that cell phone company? Y'all help me out with it. Remember, if you got an account with that cell phone company, you also have a Netflix account, whether you know it or not. What is it? Oh, gosh, I can't think of it. Y'all help me out in the chats. What's the name of that cell phone company? God, gosh. Put it in the chats and I'll recognize it. They give you you don't even know. They don't even tell you. But you're signed up for Netflix if you're with that company. Seeing if anybody gets it. T-Mobile. Right, Rain. Yeah. Good guess, Jerry, but it's T-Mobile. If you sign up with T-Mobile, your name and whatever information you give them, probably access to your data in your phone too, your name goes on as having an account with Netflix, which is going to be turned into a paganistic, hedonistic, satanistic pile of crap that's going to pump garbage into kids' heads and destroy American classics that they have control over. So I'm going to play this parody. And you can read between the lines, okay? Why did Saturday Night Live all of a sudden decide to make fun of the CVID, COVID? Why did they all of a sudden decide to make fun of it? But boy, they hit the nail on the head quite a bit. Enjoy this clip. If you're viewing this after the live stream, the clip might disappear. Depends on whether I get in trouble or not. It doesn't matter if you cancel Netflix, Rain. If you get a T-Mobile account, Lori, I bet you do. If you got a T-Mobile account, you have a Netflix account. They just don't tell you. They put you down, and it makes Netflix look like they got more subscribers. It's a bookkeeping trick. But anyway, enjoy this clip, folks. And thank you for spending your precious time with me. And thank you, Pappy, for going by Buy Me a Coffee, along with Mike and Beth. Hilarious, too. Gary, Wayne, Miss Mendersu, and Outlandish for helping out the channel on Buy Me a Coffee. Oh, by the way, I always forget this. I will put a link in the description. A link in the chats. What am I at? Oh my gosh, I'm at an hour and 52 minutes. There's the link if anybody wants to help out, Buy Me a Coffee. This is a totally viewer-supported channel. I don't get anything from YouTube, and your support for my efforts is greatly appreciated. And all right, folks. So once again, thank you for spending your precious time with me. Enjoy this clip. I should be going live tomorrow night. If you're subscribed, you'll know when I go live. Hit the notification bell. So you all have a great night. This is Mountain Man. Over and out.